Welcome to the episode 8 of the Tuesday Talk IU Athletic Podcast. Joined by Director of Athletic Communications Larry Dielman and Student Assistant Connor Kikowski, this is Sports Information Director Andy Alvarez, bringing you the results and news from this past week in IU Athletics and previewing the upcoming week ahead. It was a busy week in IU Athletics with cross country participating in the Atlantic East Conference Championships over the weekend. Men's and women's soccer seasons came to an end last week. Field hockey participated in the Atlantic East Conference tournament over the weekend, and volleyball took a big step towards securing a spot in the volleyball Atlantic East Conference tournament with a big win during the week. And we'll have men's and women's basketball opening their seasons on Saturday, and the swim teams were back in action as well. So let's get things rolling and get going with cross country. The women's cross country team is the Atlantic East Conference runner-up for a second consecutive year. Aubrey Donahue was the Atlantic East Conference individual champion for a second time in her career. She won it her freshman year in 2023, finished second last year, and came back and won again this year, won by over a minute. She's obviously is the individual champion, is the 2025 AEC Runner of the Year. She will be all conference first team, and her time was 25 minutes, 3.4 seconds. So that's a incredible time for her. We had Jayla Gross, Brianne Dymick, and Jackie Leone all get in the top 14. That will qualify all three of them as they were in the positions 8 through 14, 1 through 7 awarded first team all conference, and then 8 through 14 are awarded the second team all conference. And head coach David Smith was named the Atlantic East Conference Women's Coach of the Year. On the men's side, the men were runners up in the Atlantic East Conference for a third time in 4 years. Connor Kikowski, our very own Connor Kikowski here, was our top finisher, finishing ninth overall with a time of 30 minutes, 4.1 seconds. Good for second team All Atlantic East Conference. So congratulations to Connor. That's a incredible time. I know he wanted to possibly be sub 30, but that was pretty close. And then Jimmy Lauer also finished in the top 14. So he is named second team All AEC as well, with time of 32 minutes exactly. And our other student worker that we have that helps us out during home games and everything with that, Kendall Budlow, was the Scholar Athlete of the Year at the Atlantic East Conference for men's cross country. That was formerly known as the Elite 20 Award. So it was a good weekend for our cross country team. How about that, Connor? That was a great performance by both the women, Aubrey, other runners, and you and your team.
Yeah, it was very good showing for us this week. We came in with three plaques, so that was really nice. It was a good effort by our team. I know Marywood's obviously was really tough. I stuck with them for as long as I could during that race, but they eventually overtook me, but it's okay. And I was really happy with my time here. I wanted to get sub 30, like you said, but it's okay. It was close enough. And I got one more race to try and do that much flatter course coming up. So hopefully I can even break 29 minutes on the next race to go out with a bang.
All right, switching over to women's volleyball. Women's volleyball is in a very good spot right now to get a playoff seeding in the AEC playoffs. This past week, they won two of their last three matches. They took down Centenary in a thrilling five-set match. Cairn, that was on the road in four sets, but they fell to Marymount on Saturday in a sweep. The Centenary game, though, was definitely electric. I don't think there's any other word you could say about that. I was there studying the game, and the atmosphere really turned as the match progressed, especially that fifth set. Angelica Santini Buehlerin had another huge week with 78 assists, 5 aces, and 34 digs across three matches. But probably the MVP of the Centenary match was Lauren Gartman, who had 5 aces in the fifth set against Centenary. The Cyclones took the first point, and then the Mighty Macs ripped off, I believe it was 12 straight points, and it was absolute bedlam in Alumni Hall. Lauren Gartman was on a heater. And now women's volleyball, two big matches this week at Newman and at Gwynn and Mercy to finish the regular season. As of this recording, Immaculata is the fourth seed in the conference. They're technically tied for third with Marywood, but Marywood has the tiebreaker. So if the playoffs started today, they would host Centenary in the 4-5 playing game, but there are still a few games left to really decide seedings. Guys, volleyball looking pretty good to go into the postseason.
Yeah, that was a big week for them. And having been here now, starting my fourth year here, last 3 years, we just haven't seen that type of an excitement inside a match for them. So that's kind of great to see that they're getting big crowds at those games. The students are into it, and you're looking at a much better team than we've had in the last several years. So I think they're in a great position to try to even possibly host a home playoff match. That would be something amazing for our team. It has not happened in a long time that they've hosted a match in the playoffs at home. So hopefully they can get things done, get a win or get some help, and try to get that fourth seed. But even just getting into the playoffs again would be huge for this team.
Yeah, the secondary game really did look electric. It almost felt like it was basketball in there. We were outside, but I saw a lot of videos from that match, and it looked really fun to be there and be present for, especially on senior night. They get a big win like that, and obviously hosting a playoff game would be huge for this team. So hopefully we get a good weekend this week. Obviously Newman's going to be tough, but Gwinnett obviously a big winnable match, and hopefully we can host a playoff game here next week to start the tournament. Moving on to men's soccer, they closed out their 2025 season. But they did on a high note, a 1-0 win at Marywood, which was obviously a very tough team. Alex Corson scored, assisted by Daniel Rourke, two seniors that worked together to close out their season strong. Goalkeeper Luca Greppellini had 9 saves in that game, and it was good to get the Defensive Player of the Week for the Atlantic East Conference. They needed some help, unfortunately, from Gwinnett in the centenary game, but they didn't get it. So, unfortunately, their season had to come to an end without making the postseason. They have a bright future ahead. They have young players, including Yuga, one of the Tassi brothers, AJ Welsh. So, definitely, could be disappointing for the soccer team, but they have a bright future ahead. They're going to get more players. And what do you guys think overall as they close out their season?
Yeah, it was a tough situation for them since the Gwinnett game was early, so they knew going into the game that unfortunately that they were not going to be able to qualify for the playoffs. But credit to the team that they went out and played. They didn't just roll over. They didn't, give up. They went out, played for pride. Alex Corson's scoring a goal, assisted by Danny O'Rourke. And then, Luca makes 6 saves in the second half of that game to really secure that 1-0 win. And it's good to see Luca get that recognition this week because he's had a good season. Unfortunately, at times there's been some tough opponents and some strange things that have kind of happened in some matches with those couple goals in that Gwinnett game that were just beyond control sometimes. And it was good to see them close out the season right. And, the future is bright for that team.
Yeah, the men's soccer team definitely has a bright future. They have a good core right now, despite the fact that they're graduating some seniors this year that have been starters. They have a bright future, obviously, as we've said, led by Luca in goal and Rob Dallas, who will be going into his second season next year. But overall, a bright future, and hopefully they can turn progress this year into maybe some wins next year. Transitioning to women's soccer, and women's soccer, like men's soccer, they are also finished for the 2025 season. It was a heartbreaking defeat to Marywood on Wednesday. It was 1-0 at halftime. They nearly scored early in the second half to tie the game. Marywood's goalkeeper had a great save, but then the Pacers scored 3 straight goals to wrap that game up, and Marywood, of course, taking that momentum into the playoffs. Women's soccer, like men's soccer, they also have a bright future. Gracie Rapici, Lily McGee, Emmy Sobieski, and Natalie D'Alfonso, for example, some great young players. Obviously, some of their starters, Gabby Palladino, Sam Cedito, Maria Granito, just some of the athletes that are graduating now. Emmy Guthier made 7 saves in her final action with the Mighty Max going on 90 minutes on Wednesday. But same as the men's soccer team, just a lot of great young talent, and Seamus O'Connor, who also will be going into his second season in 2026. Both teams, they have a little bit of work to do, but I think once the new season starts, Andy, I think they can get some wins.
Yeah, that was a tough situation on, last Wednesday. Unfortunately, they didn't get the help either on the road. Wooded was able to really just pull away from Centenary in that game. But there is a bright future. You had a lot of young players get right into action this year for them. Grace Rapici and them, even Connor's sister Brooke, got action this season. So they have a lot of good young talent that's going to be in place. You lose Emmy Guthier in goal, but you have Addie Seneca and Devin Cosgrove that are goaltenders that are going to compete for that starting role next year that I think are going to be good. And you have a lot of young talent You give Coach O'Connor and his assistants some time to go out and do some additional recruiting. You're going to lose some good players, obviously. You're still going to have Sam Terry on the back end as a part of your team next year as a senior, be one of your leaders. So I think they're in a good spot going forward. Once the situation clears with a lot of different questions, I think you're going to see a team that's going to be in the talk for a spot in a conference tournament next year.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think like they had a tough schedule this year. No doubt about that. I mean, I talked to my sister after the game on Maryland, and she said like if you really think about like they were in all of these games at one point. It's just like something happened like towards the end where they just, one thing went the other and they had like even in that Maryland game, that one to open up the second half, just shot after shot, but just nothing will go in. So like it's not like they weren't doing anything to try and generate goals. They were in all these games, just like some things just didn't go their way. But yeah, I mean, definitely have a bright future ahead, we think, and hopefully they can make a run at the postseason next year.
Moving into field hockey. Field hockey, unfortunately, fell in a pair of games this past week to Newman. They lost on Wednesday night here, 1-0 in the final regular season game. Good game, could have gone either way. Newman was able to get a deflection off of a shot off a penalty corner on Wednesday night to win that game, and it set the semifinal up down there at Newman on Saturday. And then Immaculata played a good, strong game. They had a couple early chances they weren't able to convert on. And then Newman scored off of a penalty corner. Then in the second quarter, kind of a great play by Alexa Marzak, got the ball into the circle area to Alexis Andrada, who flipped a high shot into the net for her 12th goal of the season. It's a new career high for her. And it was assisted by Marzak. So tied the game up, and there were opportunities. Fortunately, in the third quarter, another penalty corner situation allowed Newman to take the lead. And then late in the game, it looked like Immaculata had tied it when a ball was played into the circle area. Maria Baronato actually put it into the cage, but a foul was whistled on Immaculata. It was a tough call. I was kind of right down there on the edge of the field. Wasn't sure if it was a foul or not, but it was called. The rest waived right away. So, and unfortunately, Newman was able to kill off the game to the end of the season. But once again, this field hockey team has a bright future. There were a lot of young players. You had a freshman goaltender in Mackenzie Schrack. You had Morgan Barnes, Maria Freeman, some good young players that saw action, Taylor Egan. With that, though, you do say goodbye to a good group of seniors. They were a big part of turning this program around. This is their fourth straight year qualifying for the Atlantic East semifinals. And before that, they had gotten in the playoffs. They had missed the playoffs. It was not there, but they've gotten to the semifinals each of the 4 years that this core was here. So you look at one player I'll note right now, Abby Feckerty. Abby actually started and played in all 75 games that Immaculata played in her career. So that's an amazing run. That'll put her up there, I think, around like fourth or fifth in games played in the record book. And you can see it after the game. There was a lot of emotion on the players being right down there with them, seeing head coach Kate Stafford hug Abby Feckerty on the bus, and it was good to see that, that moment between the two of them, because that's a player that you could tell that's meant a lot to her and this program. And then your other seniors, you obviously have Gabrielle O'Brien, who's been a big part of the offense for the team. Rachel Madden's been huge on the back end for the team this year. A lot of hard work, and they're all good friends. Then you have Abby Jones, Gabrielle Mungie. Then you're also going to be saying goodbye to, unfortunately, to Jillian Vandenbroek, who moves on to, as Allied Health, moves on to a sister school, X-ray training. Emlyn Bivens possibly could be back as a grad student. She has another year of eligibility. She's going to decide what she's going to do as she's finishing her degree early here at Immaculata. Hopefully she's back. But there's a lot of good young talent, and Coach Stafford's going to be out pounding the pavement hard, looking for new talent to continue to build on it. And I've had the pleasure of really traveling with this team a couple of times the last several years, and I feel emotion that some of these seniors are moving on. They're the class I started with in all the sports, so it was good to see them have another strong season. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, overall, field hockey definitely had their moments this year. There were some tough games like the soccer teams, and even volleyball has had some tough opponents on their schedule. But field hockey, like all of our teams, has a good future ahead of them. They have the groundwork over the next few years. They obviously have Mackenzie Schrack in goal and Ella Miller as well. So you have two young goalies. That's good on the defensive end. And obviously, Coach Stafford's going to doing some recruiting over the off season. Hopefully, get some new girls on the team and they're ready to work. And hopefully, we'll be going deep in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, but for field hockey, it was definitely like they had a lot of tough games this year, especially when they got into conference play, but they hung in there as best they could. Things sometimes just couldn't go their way. The corners were obviously tough in that Newman game. I saw the stats on my way back. They had a lot of opportunities, but some things just doesn't happen always the way you want to. But they have a bright future. I mean, we're gonna miss the seniors, obviously. They're part of my group, so but hopefully next year get some good energy going into the field hockey team and hopefully they can make another run at a championship.
Moving into swimming, the swim teams were back in action this weekend. Both the men's and women's swim teams were in Atlantic East Conference tri-meets this weekend with Marymount and Marywood here at the Alumni Hall pool. Unfortunately, both the men's and women's teams dropped both parts of their meets to those teams. They're good established teams, but they'll get their chance again in the Atlantic East Swim Championships. On the men's side, you had Mike DiMattei had a second place finish in the 200 backstroke. So that was a good time. Lane Whitesell, one of the freshmen, was fourth in the 100-yard fly. Mike DiMattei was also fourth in the 400-yard IM. So those were some good performances for the team in this event. Mike was also, finished fourth in the 100-yard backstroke. So that was for the men's side, and on the women's side, you had some decent some good swimmers in there. Ashley Bachan third in the 50-yard freestyle. Kira Wiley fourth in the 100-yard freestyle. Ashley Bachan third in the 200 backstroke. Kira Wiley third in the 500 freestyle. Delaney McPeak was fourth in the 400-yard IM. So it was a tough, result weekend for us team results, but I thought they performed well, and they'll look forward to move forward in the season in their next event.
Okay, we're gonna switch gears now to winter sports, which are about to get underway. We're gonna be in the gym now for women's basketball. We're gonna have a scrimmage against Swarthmore on Wednesday at 6 p.m. So come out and support for the first scrimmage of the year, and then getting ready for the home opener on Saturday against Moravian at 1 p.m. The defending Atlantic East Conference champions are looking to make another run at the title this year. Moravian was a good game last year. They unfortunately lost that game in overtime, so I think we're in for a good one to start off the season. You got seniors, Riley Cassidy, Olivia Etor, and that are going to help lead the team. Carly Coleman, the reigning rookie of the year, had a great first season. Meg Robbins will be turning back, and you got a good group of freshmen that can help replace maybe Abby Boyer, Tessa Liberata-Shuley that they're going to miss this year. But basketball's in full swing now. What do you guys think heading into the season?
It should be another competitive season within the conference. Obviously, you're going to see your teams, Marymount, Newman, Gwynedd will be, and Marywood will all be strong competition. Centenary, they could still be a strong team. They were in the picture last year as well. Unsure what they really know what we're going to get from Pratt since they weren't able to field the team last year. And St. Elizabeth will be a new feature in the conference this year as well. So it should be a competitive season for them. They should be right there in conversation for a run at another championship. And hopefully they could find a way to win as they learn. As a young team. You're going to have some good influence in the returning rookie of the year from last year, and Carly Coleman, who's going to be a leader on the team. Liv Tour Conference Tournament MVP last year, championship MVP. It's big games, and Riley Cassidy is going to, you're going to have a solid guard that's going to bomb for you. So those should be big pieces for the team this season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the all the action this season. Obviously, this is my first year at Immaculata, so getting used to that Alumni Hall excitement will definitely be fun. Men's basketball. Both basketball teams are about to start their season, as Connor said, on Saturday. The women will open up against Moravian at 1 o'clock. The men are on the road to start the season also on Saturday. They will be at Washington College down in Chestertown, Maryland, taking on Sarah Lawrence at the Wild Goose Classic. That'll be at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and then they will play Washington College on Sunday at 3 o'clock. So that'll be the opening tournament, and then the Mighty Macs will come home and do their home opener on the 13th, which is next Thursday. Guess who? Against Moravian. That'll be a 6 o'clock start. So, guys, the men's team has a lot of excitement too. Kyle Stramara, the new head coach for the men's team, and he's got a lot of freshmen and transfers to help lead the way.
Yeah, it should be a new season that will be exciting to see for the men's basketball team. Last year, they were really decimated by injuries and a lot of new young players. There was a lot of things that just didn't go their way last year in games. They were in a lot of those games, and then they would get away at the very end from them. So it's going to be exciting to see, the new players. And still, you have your returning players from last year. You have obviously Dylan Cruz, Mandon C. Poe, that were a big part of last year's teams. Jalen Flowers is back. You're going to see Dom Vacchiano and Sam Jankowski. And in their second years are going to be big players for the team this year as well, and a lot of new pieces and transfers that will come in. So it's going to be exciting to see the men's basketball season. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to being back on the call for both basketball teams again this year for my third year as the voice of the Mighty Macs. And so I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun, and we're hopeful to have two teams making a run at a spot in the postseason and a potential run at another Atlantic East Conference championship.
Yeah, I'm excited for our men's basketball team this year. I think they're going to come in hungry, especially after how last season ended for them. They had a tough season, especially when we got into conference play. Well, they were young last year, and they're going to be young again this year. So I'm excited to see Kyle, how he coaches this season, and I think it's going to be a good one. I think we're going to have two good basketball seasons this year.
Thinking that would be a good time to bring in our guests for this week. When we come back, we will be joined by Aubrey Donahue of the women's cross country team, the Atlantic East Conference 2025 individual champion. We'll be back after this quick break on the Tuesday Talk Athletic Podcast. Welcome back to the Tuesday Talk IU Athletics Podcast. We are joined by our guest, Aubrey Donahue from the women's cross country team, now the two-time Atlantic East Conference individual champion. Welcome to the show, Aubrey, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Both you and the team had a really big weekend this weekend. The team finished as the Atlantic East Conference runner-up, and you were the Atlantic East Conference individual champion and the conference's runner of the year for a second time in your career. What was that experience like this weekend?
It was a really good experience. I was really proud of our team being able to do that for the second year in a row. We had some new freshmen step up and have a great performance. And individually, I didn't really know what to expect going into the race, but I knew just had to give it my all and then see how it played out. So to be able to pull that off was really rewarding.
I had some conversations this year with your head coach, David Smith, and he talked about how like you've made a lot of changes this year and trying to how you prepare for the races and how you run the races. How has that helped you?
I think like placing less pressure on the race, not really thinking about it that much going into it, and just running. I found that I've had better results when I'm not thinking so much and just going out there and trusting my training.
What made you take an interest in running? You've been running for a while. Was this always your first choice when you picked it up in high school? So how'd you get into sport running?
Yeah, I didn't start running until high school. I did gymnastics like all growing up, and then when I stopped doing that, I wasn't really sure what to pursue. But my sister was a runner, so I was like, I might as well just try that. And I actually hated it when I first started. I dreaded going out for a run, but it was actually COVID and being on quarantine that made me get into it a little bit more because it gave me something to like dedicate my time to. And over time, I've grown to love it, and it just allows me to like push myself and also gives me an outlet to just do something for myself.
Do you find it relaxing to go on runs a lot? Like, how do you like channel that mentality in your brain?
It is relaxing, like going out for an easy run and listening to music. It's a nice step away from like doing my work in the morning. And when we go to practice, getting to see my teammates and running, you can have some good conversations. So definitely a break from stress and busyness of school.
You finished a whole minute faster than the runner-up in the AEC Championship 6K. How are you able to pace yourself during a race and just really distance yourself from the rest of the pack?
We practice a lot with pacing during our workouts in practice. With our workouts, we practice different paces. So you kind of get to know what those feel like. And just in that race in particular, I knew that once I went and made my move, I had to commit to it. So just knowing that I had to keep that same gap, if not build upon it. So using like the hills to my advantage and just I also hate being chased. So that was a big motivation because I was like, oh my God, I can't let her catch me.
Is there a different mindset since you participate in both cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track, all three? Is there a different mindset you have between running like cross country and running like a track and field event?
A little bit, but not really. I'd say more with track, there's more focus on pacing. Like if I want to hit a particular time, I know I need to run a particular split for each lap. I would say more cross countries, just going out and following like the groups of the races and trying to find a pack and stay with them. But overall, just pushing myself and knowing what I'm capable of and when I can make a move and go faster.
Since you participate, in basically all three events of cross country in the fall, then you flow into indoor track for the winter, and then you go right into spring for outdoor track. How do you balance that with being a student and doing all your schoolwork that you're in season basically the whole year?
It was definitely an adjustment. It's a lot with nursing classes and running all three seasons, but I've gotten into my own routine and I know that like my mornings are dedicated to class and then I practice. And after that, it's just always doing my work and studying. And definitely my weekends are devoted to studying and schoolwork. But I find that doing running is what gives me a break from that schoolwork. So I try to balance it between work and running.
What do you do in preparation for a big race like AEC championships? What's your whole planning process? And not even that, but as you guys are about to wrap up your season, even like for Metro Regionals, what's like your whole process and preparation?
I used to be really bad at putting a lot of pressure on the race, and like the whole week leading up to it, I'd be just kind of out of it because I was only thinking about the race. But I've kind of learned that I can't place that much pressure on it, and I just have to like keep going about my days as normal as possible. So, like staying focused on my work and letting that kind of be a distraction, I feel has been like really successful and just keep doing my work, take my runs easy, try not to go too hard on the workouts and just focus on eating right, getting good sleep. And then a big thing I also do is like visualization. I always write like a message the night before, just about like how I want the race to go and like what I want to go out and do. And I just remind myself of that the next day before I race as well.
Obviously, you guys are going to be wrapping up your season in a couple weeks at the Metro Regionals, and it's on a course that you've done very well on. You've set record times the last few years at the Rowan Border Battle, and it's also close to home for you. So, what's that an experience going to be like to finish your season?
Yeah, I'm really happy that regionals is at Dream Park this year. I raced there in my senior year in high school a few times, so I always love going back. It's a lot of good memories there. But just with it being the last race, I know just had to go for it, go all out. There's nothing to lose with this one, so just got to go out, run fast, and push myself and see what can happen.
Thank you for joining us today, Aubrey, and we wish you and the team all the success in the Metro Regionals. Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
And we'll be back after this quick break on the IU Tuesday Talk Athletic Podcast. That will about wrap it up for this week on episode 8 of the Tuesday Talk IU Athletic Podcast. We look forward to you joining us again next week when we talk about the first games from the basketball season and how the final results of volleyball. Until then, roll Max.